You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your cheerful and happy host, and with me, as always, is my partner,
the groggy and sleepy one, Rocco.
The groggy and sleepy one. Yes, that sums him up every day, folks. This is what I deal with. Mr. Happy Fun Guy over here. And that is why, in order to liven up the show, Rocco makes you all suffer through that most important aspect, which is the engineering joke of the week. All right, Rocco, you ready?
No,
but you're going to hear it anyway. All right. Did you hear about the two audio engineers who got married?
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, the wedding was lousy, but the reception was outstanding. So there you go.
Oh, that's one that I've heard before. I've used that one before, actually.
Oh, there you go. There you go. See, so it must be good if Rocco used it. So, all right. So for today's podcast, folks, I want to talk about tech for local governments, which is kind of an interesting new topic, right? One of the most interesting things that I've kind of seen happening recently here at Zentech, right, has been kind of the growing interest by local governments to make better use of their technology. I'd say that, over the last year or so, I guess we've seen just a massive surge of folks across both the U.S. and Canada, who work for, local, state, municipal government agencies, kind of reaching out to us to help bring them up to speed with a lot of different technologies, right? And that's kind of an interesting change, is, most of our clients here at Zentech have always been, since the day we started, right? They've always been in that kind of private AEC, architecture, engineering, construction sector. But I have to say that once, we kind of got into this, I'm kind of surprised at how much overlap there actually is between, the local government tech needs and those of our private clients. I guess, at the end of the day, right, things like, dealing with files and communications and collaboration and, looking for, better, more efficient workflows, those turn out to be universal concepts, right? Hey, who knew? The local government space is actually one of our fastest growing sectors. And there have just been a lot of them reaching out to us in particular about Bluebeam Review. That's been a real big thing for us, right? We started working with a lot of the building and planning and construction type departments in that arena, which makes sense, right? The need to organize and control submittals and construction documents and maps and so on that, all of the construction guys are required to submit for approval to those agencies. Right? That just, it kind of makes them prime candidates for working in that Bluebeam arena. And a lot of these agencies are starting out with, the need to structure and organize files so that they can be easily and securely shared with the public, right? So that, they're really interested at first in Bluebeam Studio when they reach out to us. And I think, once we show them the capabilities with Studio and we help them, get it configured and set up and running to their needs, they're kind of really quickly seeing that there are a whole host of other benefits that is, systems like Bluebeam and, Procore and better CAD systems, right, that we work with kind of bring to the table for them. And that's kind of where I want to focus today, right? On the products and the processes that can kind of bring big improvements to the daily work life of anybody living in that government space. So, Rocco, let's kind of start with Bluebeam Studio, since that's kind of our gateway, I guess, to a lot of these clients. What are most of them looking to do with Studio? And what's the general response to that system once we get them properly configured and trained on it?
Yeah, I think it's really three areas. A lot of folks are using it for markups. A lot of folks are using it for takeoff and estimating purposes, and then a lot are using it for collaboration. through Bluebeam Studio, and you're going to explain that a little bit more. But those are the core areas where Bluebeam shines the most.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So like Rocco said, right, for those of you who aren't, we'll say that familiar with it, Bluebeam Studio, it's part of every single Bluebeam Review license, right? It gives users unlimited file storage. And yes, it is truly unlimited. You can host as much data out there at no charge as you need. And it gives you the ability to share your files with both folder level controls, and it has automated revision tracking, and even mail notifications and reports when your files get updated in any way, so you know what's going on. And Studio can even function as kind of a lightweight document management system, so you can kind of control and track who's editing a given file at any time. And just like any other cloud-based storage system, Studio will host files of any kind, and it gives you the ability to let, I think the number's up to 500 people at a time edit the same file, right? And what they
That's
call
a lot of friends.
That's a lot of friends. It's way more than I have. Listen, I have a friend at this point is Rocco. I'm too old to make new friends. But yeah, I mean, they use what they call sessions for that, right? And what's nice about all of this, I think, is that you can invite folks in to do all of these things using just your license, right? In other words, not everybody who's accessing and working with and reviewing and collaborating on these files needs to have a licensed seat of review to work with all these tools, right? All they need to do is just install the read-only free version on their system, and they're basically playing with your license. And look, I think that Studio plays amazingly well for these municipalities who need to track, hundreds of projects, right, with ongoing reviews and update processes across multiple departments. And having the ability to let the public, right, the general public, have access to some of the folders on your job while they can't even see others, right? Or if you need to get like notifications every time one of your a coworker, another government worker from another office or another department adds or changes something on one of your files, that's invaluable at that level of government, right? The fact that they're, able to do this all at, it's no cost. If you already own Bluebeam, it doesn't cost you a penny, right? Or, a couple of $100s, I guess, if they need to pick up new seats. It just kind of sweetens the deal that it's so affordable, excuse me. Smaller towns don't always have, the expansive budgets that, state and federal agencies do, right? So getting, that much functionality for such a small investment can really go a very long way in that type of environment. So, Rocco, are you finding that most folks in these government agencies kind of already have review, or is that something that, they need to buy? And also, while we're talking about price, fill listeners in on what it costs to buy new Bluebeam seats.
No, it's we're finding that there's like a couple champions, within that have been using it for a while, or that are just starting to get into it. And when they see and come to learn the true capabilities of the product, then it starts to spread like wildfire. It's like, I need one of those. I need one of those. So that's what we're seeing. And in terms of price, Bluebeam, for those of you that have been following the product for a while, they've recently changed their licensing model. So now you purchase it on an annual basis versus a perpetual license. So it runs $240, $300, or $400 a year, depending upon the version of Bluebeam that you get. Basics is the lowest, Core is right in the middle at $300, and Complete is at the top at $400.
Yeah. So
like you say, it's definitely very, very affordable.
Yeah, for the kind of functionality you get, even the most expensive, $400, that's nothing. So look, like we were saying, right? Once people get into Bluebeam Studio, they see what it does, and then they start to look a lot more closely at the functionality, the general functionality of Bluebeam Review itself, right? Which makes sense, right? I mean, if you have it, you might as well use it. And then right away, right? People start seeing the benefits of having, like Rocco was saying, intelligent markups and measurement tools, right? And some of the built-in standard review functions for things like, comparing documents and overlaying PDFs electronically, right? Those are all hugely important at that government level, particularly for those, building and approval related departments, right? And I think that the big thing that grabs them though, it's the concept of Bluebeam custom tool chests. In review, you can create your own reusable tools that can incorporate any data that you need, right? To just simply drag and drop onto your files, right? If you need to add stamps, right, or legends or signing blocks to files, right? No problem, you can do that. If do you need standard notes or symbols for things like, doors or windows or furnitures or printers that you want to keep track of, or anything else that you can conceivably put onto your PDFs. Review does that, and it also handles all the measuring and counting, right? So it can be a full-blown estimating system too. Where I think that Review really shines for government agencies, though, is in the area of metadata, or what Review calls custom columns. And we do a lot of this work for our clients, helping them develop these. And we can build and assign, drop-down lists and text boxes and number values and just about any formula or calculation methodology, right, that you need for every single tool that we build for you. That means that every agency can build out a standardized set of automated tools, not developed by the software people, but that is specific to their workflow process and their needs, right? Without having to go out and pay programmers to develop like crazy expensive and hard to maintain and update software systems, right? With Review, this is a commonly used tool that everybody knows that all your customers and clients are using, and your customizations, right, just kind of port forward from one version to the next. It's a really simple concept. So Rocco, how big is that idea of custom tool sets for the people in the government space?
Oh yeah, well, it's like you're saying. I mean, it's about automation, and so and again, not a lot of folks know about it. So that's why folks like us are around, right?
That's good. This way we can pay our mortgages.
Exactly. I mean, once they learn and see the capabilities, it's the word spreads. So it's huge. And a lot of times, people look for a lot more expensive tools when it's like you've got these tools at your fingertips, or you can add, like we said, a couple licenses at a low cost and become extremely productive.
Yeah. I'm always shocked at how many people just don't understand what the capacity of Bluebeam really is. And kind of along that line, right? I guess kind of the last thing that I want to touch on in terms of Bluebeam, all right, for government use, it's the concepts of, we'll call it facility management and dashboarding. I'm kind of blend these two together. Look, Bluebeam has just absolutely killer tools for creating links between documents of any type, right? So you can link to any web page, to any folder, to any file, even to specific details or pages or rooms or locations within any other PDF, right? Bluebeam even lets you define spaces, right? Or basically, room, / building names. And then it can identify any tool or symbol that you put into that space. It tells you where it is within your, your site or your building, right? So, in other words, if I define the room names for a 12-story building, and then I start dropping equipment symbols into those different rooms, Review can track exactly where everything that I own or manage is within my building. Right? Look, what you want to know what room a particular printer is in? Bluebeam can tell you that. Right? You want to run a report on like how many monitors do we have at this facility, right? And what make and model are they, and where are they? Review does all that, right? And not just that, but to kind of take it to that facility management level, every one of those symbols that you put in those rooms, they can be linked. Every item, every room, every file, anything can be linked to any other. So, if we find that printer that we're looking for, and then we click on it, right? Review can then open up another PDF that contains the printer spec sheet and the maintenance history, and how do I order a new toner for it, and what was the original price, and who do I go to reorder it? Whatever you need. And that type of functionality is where municipalities really just start to drool. Because the fact is, right, government agencies have to deal with so much data and inventory and so many different components and so on spread across so many facilities and buildings and departments that tracking like physical documents physical objects really and their related documents, it's a staggering task. And when we show them how easily Bluebeam can be structured to control the things that they need in exactly the way that they want, they are just jumping at the chance to get it up and running for their town. So that's what we're talking about today. All right, so let's take a break to get a commercial in here. And when we come back, I want to talk about some of the other technology tools that we're seeing local governments getting involved with. All right, so hang around, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast.
All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call Podcast is being sponsored by both Rocco and I. Zentech, we want to talk to you guys about our Bluebeam Review Toolset Kickstart program. Look, you guys fight with trying to get reliable, repeatable quantity takeoff and markup items from your Bluebeam software, right? Are you guys frustrated having to go in and change and modify the display properties of every single item that you create inside a review? Well, that's what we're here to help you guys with the Kickstart program. We give you tools that you need built to your specifications at an affordable fixed cost. You can fully develop tool sets for any industry. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what you do. We can help you work better with Bluebeam custom tools. So Rocco, why don't you tell folks how they get info on our Kickstart program?
Yeah, the big thing is it is like you said, Jim. It's one fixed price, so it's $29.95, and we can help you to prove to your management what.
Is it $29.95?
No, Jim, it's $2,995.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Oh, of course. So hit up our website, check out the details. We'd be happy to talk to you. It's zentechconsultants.net. Reach out to us, sales@zentechconsultants.net, or give us a ring, 866-824-4459.
All right, the Bluebeam Review Toolset Kickstart program. Everything you guys need to be Bluebeam experts.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. We're talking about technology for local and smaller government agencies today, right? And where we see it growing. And in this half of the show, I wanted to talk about kind of two processes, construction project management and CAD, right? And where those fit into municipal government spaces. And I'm going to start kind of with that CPM or construction project management idea first, right? Since it isn't necessarily an obvious tech space for government workers. Zentech, we do a lot of work with Procore here. We're actually certified consultants for that system. And almost all of our clients in that space are GCs or land management firms. And Procore is really focused on helping in those industries. And it's a great system, but at first glance, at least, it doesn't seem to have that many tools that translate directly to government work, right? So we're seeing that change. And I think two specific areas that are drawing a lot of interest from local towns and agencies, right? The idea of, number one, training their staff on how to use Procore, right? And on implementing its Power BI features. And I think, the training makes perfect sense. GCs and owners and so on are all using, right, CPM systems like Procore, and all the files and permits and RFIs and schedules for a construction job can be shared there. And a lot of towns are moving towards requiring GCs to give them access to some of those, basic tools, right? So that they can keep an eye on changes to the scope or the schedules on an approved project, or even use, the GC's Procore site as a way to quickly distribute permits, et cetera, to the appropriate parties. And, they can even review the drawings and BIM models right there through the GC site. It's a small investment in training for the town, right? To give them the ability to integrate more tightly with project development teams and help speed up the approvals process. I mean, I think it's particularly important feature for those private public partnerships. Man, I'm having a hard time speaking today, man. What'd you put in my drink, Rocco? Did you put the bourbon in my coffee again? I'm saying, I smell toast. Call 911. I'm not, folks. Please don't call 911. But yeah, when you're dealing with like those private public partnership jobs, and there are a lot of government mandated infrastructure jobs running now that need those streamlined processes, right? That's where they're kind of tying those. And the second area I talked about was this concept of the Power BI, right? Which is kind of being able to put together visual panels, graphic interfaces that show the details. And a lot of folks are looking at that in terms of being able to look at jobs on the Procore side across the entire town, right? We've got, 300 or 400 jobs every year that run through here. We want to be able to see, right, which contractors have the most code violations, right? Which companies, require the most, support from our engineering department, which ones, cause the most road closures or whatever, so they can give you additional fees or taxes, and, so it works for both the, the internal government sites to track their own jobs, right? When they're doing like, their own infrastructure and transit authority type work, and be able to, visualize those and see that in really nice graphic formats. So that's kind of where we've been seeing that. But I think, the training is kind of the first one. And Rocco, I mean, you're training government folks in Procore. It's really just starting to pick up for us. So if what training do we offer for the government people in Procore, and how do listeners get more info on that?
Yeah, we cover beginner through to advanced levels of classes. We do public classes here where folks from all over can join the scheduled classes. But what we're also seeing a lot of interest in is individual, group classes where we can actually develop content to meet customers' needs. So whether it's content to put inside an learning management system, or just developing content for private groups, we can help. So it's at all levels.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the other big item that I wanted to hit on today is the CAD, right? The CAD setup for local governments. So you look, just about every jurisdiction that connects in any way to the design build world has CAD seats at some level, right? And it doesn't matter, if you're doing plan review or GIS integration, or you're preparing tax maps, or maybe you just need to open drawings once in a while to measure things and get some reference, right? CAD, at whatever level, it's the most common tool set that small government uses. Now look, traditionally that has meant, playing with one of those Uber software developers like Autodesk or Bentley. And I'm not saying anything bad about them, right? But the truth is, the costs and the complexities of those systems have gone through the roof over the last decade. They're way more expensive than they used to be. And if you combine that with, their annual subscription licensing requirements, right? And CAD systems can start to chew up just an ungodly amount of a small government agency's annual budget. Now, since the big houses have also killed their network licensing options, meaning that every single user has to have their own individual purchase license now for those big companies, a lot of agencies that we've been talking to have seen their annual CAD budgets almost double. And I also think that, the complexity of these systems can be a major negative for government workers too, right? The big ones, I mean. These larger software developers are constantly putting in, new advanced design, advanced analysis tools. And that is great for the engineers and the architects, right? They're the designers. But I think it makes life a lot harder on the gov folks who just need to open and review or get some basic information from a CAD file. And we have just been seeing an absolutely huge movement on the government side to smaller, more affordable, and I'll be honest, in a lot of cases, better basic CAD systems like BricsCAD. A system like BricsCAD that uses the same native DWG format as your Autodesk files, so that the files are completely compatible across platforms. So even if other people aren't using it, doesn't matter. You're working in the same file format, right? And the other thing here is that BricsCAD still has perpetual licensing and network licensing available, so those budgetary hits are substantially less year over year. Right? And I guess I'll also throw in here that BricsCAD, I think, actually does a great job of adding and updating basic CAD features, right? The stuff you use every single day that those bigger developers just haven't bothered to focus on for well over a decade now. So Rocco, in terms of cost, how does a system like BricsCAD compare against like a larger name competitor like AutoCAD? And do you see, when you're talking to people, does that price difference make make it easier or harder for people to kind of justify, jump into it for those smaller towns and agencies?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. I mean, like the AEC collection is close to $2,900 a year. I think AutoCAD last time I looked is about $1,800 a year. You can get BricsCAD as a perpetual license, the one-time perpetual license for under $1,200, with optional annual maintenance at $230 a year, or you can get it as an annual license, and I think that's around $720 a year.
That's like half.
Yeah, it's a huge difference, and and then you've got BricsCAD offers BIM and mechanical capabilities, or a combination of the two. There's also collaboration functionality within 24/7. So definitely, a solution that you want to look at, especially if you're trying to cut costs and maintain the same functionality.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for like I said, those smaller governments. Look, at the end of the day, when a federal government can quite literally just print more money, municipal governments, they have to be a lot more budget conscious, and they have to find ways to do more with less, just like most companies do. And they're also looking for ways to be more efficient. Look, no matter what it is that you do, nobody wants to have to use tedious, repetitive, out-of-date work processes, except maybe the DMV. I don't know what the hell those guys are all about. They were using things from like 1932. So I stay away from the DMV. But generally government workers are very much like the rest of us, right? They just want to go in, do their jobs quickly, do them well, and then just go home to their families on time and enjoy their lives, right? And look, technology updates have been slow getting into this space, right? But they're moving there quickly. And, if anybody is listening to the show and you're in that space and you need some help getting updates, please reach out to Rocco. Get sales@zentechconsultants.net, please. Right? The guy just sleeps all day and takes half my money. Make him do something to earn that yacht that he's sailing around in all summer. If only there were yachts. All right, folks, we'll get out of here with that before Rocco hits me with a bat again. The guy's dangerous. Please help me. Someone call 911. That's twice in one show I've asked for help. And I'm just kidding. Don't call 911. All right, folks, we're getting out of here. We'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all.